Good morning. Welcome to the Bell and Pollock Legal Show. We are injury attorneys. We bring the show to you to educate you, to teach you, to train you, and give you information to empower yourself to fight against the insurance companies who fight against you when you're injured, to try to reduce your claim, beat your claim, mitigate your claim. Information is power, and that's what we try to give to you. Every week we do this show. We're glad to do it. Gary Bell, Brad Pollock, our law firm is Bell and Pollock. We're conveniently located in Greenwood Village at about I-25 and Orchard. Easy access, free parking. If you come see us, you get a free initial consultation, obviously, but you also get a free legal game plan. What does that mean? That means you're going to understand your rights. You're going to understand what to do. You're going to understand how the insurance company is going to try to beat you. And it's free. It's a free legal game plan. Pretty much a no-brainer. Our telephone number is 303-795-5900. That's 795-5900. And our website is championsofthepeople.com. That's championsofthepeople.com. You can go to our website. It's an information-loaded website. Today we're doing a sequel in our series on big trucks, big rigs, 18-wheelers. But, you know, it doesn't have to be an 18-wheeler to be a commercial truck. It just has to be over 10,000 pounds. We've covered that in shows before, but we're talking about the big rigs today. You know, we're going 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour down the roadway, weighing 80,000 pounds. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? You know, we say, yeah, this is a major catastrophe. And for the insurance company, it's just another ordinary day, another ordinary event to try to beat you in your claim. Usually these accidents with big rigs involve tragedies. They're horrific. But you need to see lawyers who understand the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Rules and Regulations. Why? Because this is not an ordinary car crash. Yes, the common law governs it. Yes, there are statutes, but the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Rules are in the thousands of subparts and parts. You have to have attorneys that understand those rules because those rules govern liability. They help you recover. They help you maintain a claim against the insurance companies for these trucking companies. And they have their own lawyers. They have their own doctors. Who do you have? All right, our law firm is Bell and Pollock. You can call us at 303-795-5900 anytime. Today we're talking about big rigs, but we're also talking about talking and texting. These drivers talk and text on the phones, and we're going to explore things with you today I bet you never thought of. You know, Brad, the statistics on these things, the stats, the studies are just astronomical on the effects and what happens with these talking and texting.
Well, they're amazing because we're talking about a relatively new phenomenon, and what amazes me is it's a relatively new phenomenon, but we've known for a number of years, that texting and driving, plain and simple, is a dangerous act. We also know talking on the phone and driving is a dangerous act, especially if it's a phone you're holding to your ear rather than having a hands-free device. The hands-free devices are installed in vehicles now, so you have to put up with those. But the situation is that we've heard many times what the situation is. We know that texting, for instance, you're 23 times more likely to have an accident than a non-distracted driver. Now, think about that. 23 times more likely to have an accident. An estimated 160,000 accidents were caused by texting and driving in 2010. 160,000 accidents caused by texting that wouldn't have otherwise happened. 11% of the drivers aged 18 to 20 were involved in an automobile accident and admitted that they were sending or receiving a text. So 11% of your 18 to 20-year-olds are sitting there texting. They admit they got in an accident while they were doing it. And more than 3,000 people lost their lives. 3,092 people lost their lives in 2010 as a result of distracting driving. Now, can we take those 3,092 and say they were all texting? No, but we know a number of them were involved in accidents that involved texting. More than 3,000 people. That's more than 51 city buses full of people that lost their lives because of distracted driving. And that's what texting is.
That's incredible. Those statistics are incredible. So you need to pay attention to this. But, we're talking about texting and talking on cell phones on truck drivers. And we say all the time, there's a lot of ethical companies out there. There's a lot of ethical companies that have good safety directors, implement safety rules, require compliance by their drivers, but there's some that don't. And those are the ones we're talking about. And those are the ones that usually end up in tragedy. So we're not complaining about or dissing every truck company, every truck driver. But we are after the ones who violate these rules. And today we're talking about talking and texting. One thing I want to cover, Brad, is that, everybody talks about talking and texting. And in Colorado, we know we have a statute that says it's illegal to text and drive. That was passed. But they did not pass a statute in Colorado saying it was illegal to talk on your phone. Okay, so what are we talking about on trucks? Here's what we're talking about on trucks. As I said at the outset of this program, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Rules and Regulations. So I'll just call them the federal rules for a shorthand method. The federal rules, they dictate what's going to happen with with truck drivers. They mandate what's going to happen with the safety director and these companies that put these rigs on the road. And these federal rules say you cannot text while you drive and you cannot use a handheld phone while you drive. Okay, so the state law says nothing about using a handheld phone, but for the truck drivers are special rules.
And they should be. Now, remember, the surveys have indicated that 1 in 5 of your drivers are surfing the net while they drive. Okay, so no, they're not texting, they're surfing the net. That takes their eyes off the road even more. It has them even more involved in what's going on as they're trying to get their selections and surf the net, read whatever articles they're looking at. 1 in 5. And it's right, Gary. We have laws in the state of Colorado to stop the texting and driving. But the federal laws go further. They're a lot tougher. They're more stringently interpreted. Whether or not they're more stringently enforced is another question, because you do have to ask, how often do you see anybody, or do you know of anybody, getting cited for violating one of these federal laws absent an accident having happened? Just being able to see it, because that's one of the hard parts, is being able to detect that the person is texting, that the person is on the internet. Their driving may be erratic, it's being distracted. But as I said, one of the main problems is when you're driving and texting, or driving and surfing the net, driving and using the phone, especially handheld devices where you've got them in your hand, you're placing yourself in a situation where you cannot react to anything else that might happen on the road.
Right.
So you may not be able to see it immediately, but you can't react. Well,
react, Brad. To react, you've got to see something. When they're looking at their cell phones for 5-6 seconds, they're not seeing anything. They're driving, let's just use 80,000 pounds, an 80,000 pound deadly missile down the highway we're going to go to 5 or 6 seconds, and they're not even looking at the road. And so the federal motor rules say and define that these companies and these drivers are supposed to, they look at an accident and they call it either a preventable or unpreventable accident. If it's preventable, then the motor carrier and the driver are liable. If it's preventable. But one of the ways they look to see if it's preventable is whether or not the driver was texting or talking on the cell phone.
No, it's not a question, did the driver cause the accident? It's a question of, could the accident have been averted but for an act or failure to act by the motor carrier? A failure to act. In other words, was there something up there that was occurring on the road, something in front of them or off to the side, that they could have averted the act had they seen it, reacted to it, comprehended it, reacted to it, and averted the accident? That's where you lose that ability if you've got your mind set and you've got your hands set and you've got your eyes set on a text or an internet or a phone.
Yeah, and it's illegal. They can't do it, but you've got to discover it. Last week I gave some calculations on the air about speed and distance, and I was wrong. And so I'm going to get those corrected today. And we got a phone call from a retired police officer. I wish he or she would have left their name. We would have talked to them, and we're glad they called. We appreciate the call, pointing out that I was wrong in my calculations for speed and distance, and we're going to get those squared away today. But we appreciate you, whoever you are, listening to the show, and we appreciate the call. And so let's get a couple of things squared away here. Let's talk about one of these 80,000-pound trucks, missile of death, going down the road. And if it's for 6 consecutive seconds, and I'm going to show you some studies after the break, but for 6 consecutive seconds, okay, going 70 miles an hour, that truck will cover roughly 630 feet. Think about that. 630 feet, that's longer than 2 football fields. Longer. I mean, you got a truck going to a greater distance than 2 football fields, not even looking at the road. What do you think, folks? What do you think? And at 4 seconds, going 60 miles an hour, it's approximately 352 feet. Okay? 6 seconds at 60 miles an hour is approximately 528 feet. That's almost 2 football fields. That's incredible. The statistics are incredible. But what I want to point out to you is the research from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, who publishes these rules, demonstrates, these drivers who text while driving take their eyes off the road for an average of 5 out of every 6 seconds. Wow.
5 out of every 6 seconds. That means it's blind. That means that, everybody stop right now and think and count to 6, 1001, 1002 to 6. And imagine if, for those of you who are driving, please don't do this, but imagine if you had just driven that 6 seconds that you're counting in your mind blind with your eyes closed. Would you want to do it? Is that something you intend to do? Is that something you should be doing? Well, guess what? That's what the driver is doing in a 80,000 pound. That's 40 tons.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. Think about it.
80,000 pound truck. That's, and mind you, I'm not trying to draw a distinction. Those of you in cars shouldn't be texting and driving.
It's the same principle.
You shouldn't be surfing the internet in your car and driving. But the bottom line is you've got to understand how fast and how far you travel, because we become very, very acclimated and very, very in a comfort zone while we're driving, thinking that we're okay and everything's fine. But it's not when you start putting yourself in a situation where you're traveling 2 football fields without even seeing the road.
That's amazing. But, Brad, you just brought up a really good point. We got a break coming up. But your point is these cars are made anymore. We're talking about a car now where, you almost don't realize you're going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. It's just so comfortable. It seems slow. It seems comfortable. It seems okay. So let's just get on the phone or text because it's okay. But you don't realize you're going 60 to 80 miles per hour. Okay, we got a break coming up. We're talking about big rigs today, truck liability, Federal Motor Carrier Safety rules, all for your protection. We are injury attorneys. Our law firm is Bell and Pollock. We're in Greenwood Village, conveniently located at I-25 in Orchard. You can call us, and in the mountains, you can call us at 970-870-8989. We have offices in the mountains. So it's 870-8989 or our website, championsofthepeople.com. We are Colorado's premier injury law firm, and we are your champions of the people.
Ready for an extraordinary lunch? As fast or as slow as you want it? With all fresh ingredients? Caitlin's Restaurant has it all. Express lunches that won't keep you waiting. Or if you prefer, lunch served in that old-fashioned homemade style. All made fresh on the spot. Whether it's a fresh-made sandwich with homemade chips, quesadilla loaded with cheddar or jack cheeses, or scratch-made soups, you'll find everything you love at Caitlin's. Caitlin's is located on Mississippi just east of Colorado Boulevard next to Bookies. How about green chili chicken stew? Think about a variety of fresh-made sandwiches or 11 different kinds of burgers made to order with 1/2 pound of the finest USDA choice lean ground beef. You might favor a homemade New Mexican recipe with carne adobada burritos, chicken enchiladas, carnitas burritos, served with hash browns, special recipe beans, cheeses with guacamole, and your choice of homemade red or green chili sauces. For those who prefer the lighter side, there are fresh made salads and lighter fares, sure to delight. Try Caitlin's for lunch or breakfast on Mississippi, just east of Colorado Boulevard next to Bookies. Call 303-798-6600. You'll love it every bite of the way.
What you see is what you get. What you don't hear is everything. Let's talk about silence, old-fashioned silence. What does silence have to do with injuries? I'm going to give you about 3 seconds of silence. Here you go. Silence is what you get just before a collision. Sometimes in accidents, fast turns to slow and noise turns to silence. Then the collision, then the injuries, then the life-changing event, then starts the battle with the insurance company. Hi, I'm Gary Bell of the law firm of Bell & Pollock. At Bell & Pollock, we understand that those 3 seconds of silence can turn your life upside down. We know how devastating injuries can be. You may not be able to work. You have medical bills. You need treatment. Listen, don't get hurt twice. Once in the accident and again on the insurance claim. Talk to the lawyers who actually care about you, the injured victim. Bell & Pollock, Colorado's premier injury law firm. Our website is championsofthepeople.com or call us at 303-795-5900. One call, that's all. Good morning. Welcome back to the Bell & Pollock Legal Show. I'm Gary Bell. Along with Brad Pollock, our law firm is Bell & Pollock. Our website, championsofthepeople.com. We have an office in the mountains in Steamboat Springs. If you want to call us up in the mountains anywhere, 970-870-8989 8989. That's 870-8989. Or you can go to our website, championsofthepeople.com. That's championsofthepeople.com. It's an information-loaded website, and the podcasts of these shows are on our website as well. Okay. Wish we could, whoever called us, the retired police officer, I wish you'd call us back, give us your name. We appreciate your call. And I said I gave some wrong calculations last week, and we appreciate you pointing out those were wrong, and we got those corrected today. Thank you very much. Okay, we're still talking about big rigs. We were talking about texting, and people say, well, it's not illegal in Colorado to talk on the phone, but the federal motor carrier safety rules say it's illegal for the truck driver to use a handheld device. You can't do it. There's no room for talk or interpretation. You just can't do it. You can't text. And some of these things lead to very tragic circumstances.
Right. The companies themselves are supposed to have programs. And their programs are supposed to establish that you're not to do that. You can't do it. The companies have responsibilities to make sure they're not communicating with the driver inappropriately or at a time when they're not supposed to, or in a manner that they're not supposed to communicate with the driver. The driver, and it's understandable. We talked about good drivers. There's also bad drivers. And it's understandable that when you're out there on the road, a lot of times drivers, it seems like boredom. They're traveling the same route they've been traveling for the last so many years. Just like all of us travel the same route to and from work for so many years. After a while, you get used to it. You think you know where the stops and the goes are and what's going on. Well, you're being dangerous. You're being dangerous, more dangerous than a threshold drunk driver when you're on the road just texting on and just using these handheld devices. But it's even worse. It's even worse as far as your ability to handle something that's out of the ordinary. And a lot of driving is defensive driving, where you're needing to handle things that might occur that are out of the ordinary.
Last week we talked about fatigue drivers. Remember, we talked about drivers with fatigue, how you prove it, how you find out about it, what do you do, hours of service, driving, GPS, etc. So that was a good show on that. But take a fatigue driver texting. Take a fatigue driver talking on the phone. What do you think is going to happen? Is distracted. Look here. According to the National Highway Transportation Administration, texting while driving is reportedly roughly six times more likely to cause an accident than driving while intoxicated. Whoa. Wow. 6 times more than being drunk. And they also said it was the same as driving after having consumed 4 beers. So you're going to put up with that? No. You're going to find out about it? Of course. This is how you protect your rights and remedies. You just can't drive while texting, and you take fatigue drivers. You take drivers that have violated other rules. You take cargo shifting, which we haven't even covered. You take other violations of the federal motor carrier safety rules, and you have a grand recipe for disaster. And you need to have attorneys that understand that. You can call us anytime. Bell and Pollock, 303-795-5900. And in the mountains, you can call us at 970-870-8989. We have an office there. We can meet with you at any time. We do cases all over the state of Colorado, and we're glad to do it. We do cases out of the state also. So we're talking about texting. We're talking about driving. Brad, the prohibition. There's a prohibition in the federal motor rules that says no driver shall engage in texting while driving. There's no interpretation room. There's no misinformation. You can't do it.
And the job of an attorney, when there's been an accident where this has occurred, is to find out that information, is to get the necessary information and compare whether or not the driver was on the phone or not. You can't just take their word for it. They're always going to tell you, no, I wasn't on the phone. No, I wasn't texting. But that's not what an attorney's job is. An attorney's job is to ask first and find out, or to ask and find out, but also to verify the information that's given. And that takes making use of the data that's available, and that takes going out and doing the what I would call the real elbow work, the hard work, in finding out whether or not that phone has been used.
So, in the old days we called it elbow grease, but you've got to do the hard work. You've got to do the discovery. And by the way, I want to tell you something. When you get involved in these cases, these defendants and their attorneys, they don't turn over this information easily. They fight it. And they fight it in so many ways I can't even cover it on the radio, and neither could Brad. But they fight it, and you've got to have aggressive attorneys that go after this information. And let me give you a couple of examples here that we've seen orders on the cell phone. So if you can get those, or text messages. The driver was calling in, there was bad weather, and one of the text messages said, drive on. We don't care about the bad weather, meaning about the bad weather. We don't care. We'll get fined if your load is late. They got to get that load to a certain city. Another one example is, quote, don't argue. You can't stop. Hurry up and get there. Really? That's what you're driving. That's on the road today? That's on the road today. You've got to pay attention to what you're doing. So, Brad, you talk about preventable accidents, but let's just talk about a little bit about the discovery efforts you have to go through to get this information.
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy at all, because it's a matter of getting information that you can compare, and you can find out what's going on. So sometimes that takes getting the cell phone bills, of course. You're always going to want to have that. You need to get the driver's logs, and we talked last week about both sets, if there's two sets. So you can get the information with respect to that. You need to see if there's any voicemail messages, any videos, tower locations can all be discovered and determined by an appropriate analysis of the cell phone data. But you've got to have people that know to do that, and you have to get the information put together. You've got to be able to determine who's being contacted in the cell phone communications or in the texting communications. Sometimes that's very telling. Because if the company representative is texting with the driver during these communications, now all of a sudden you're not just looking at a negligent or driver out on the road, you're looking at a company that's committed negligence that shouldn't be engaging in the text or the telephone communications with the driver while the driver's on the road.
Right. And you want to be able to discover all the mobile devices. Sometimes they lie about their logs. They lie about computers, iPads. You've got to be able to discover this stuff and get after this information. But, we talked last week about comparing their logs to where they actually are. Okay, so what if the logbooks show that the person, the driver, the logbooks show he was in Lexington, Kentucky in a sleeper berth sleeping, but his cell phone at the same time showed he was in Jacksonville, Florida. What do you got? You got liability all over the board. That's what you've got. You're listening to the Bell and Pollock Legal Show. Gary Bell, Brad Pollock. This is the only show of its kind. We try to inform you, to give you information, to educate you, to train you so that you are empowered to fight these insurance companies. Our telephone number is 303-795-5900. In the mountains, you can call us at 970-870-8989. That's 870-8989. And no matter where you are, you can call us or go to our website, championsofthepeople.com. The Bell and Pollock Legal Show, we are your champions of the people.
Ready for an extraordinary lunch? As fast or as slow as you want it? With all fresh ingredients? Caitlin's Restaurant has it all. Express lunches that won't keep you waiting. Or, if you prefer, lunch served in that old-fashioned homemade style. All made fresh on the spot. Whether it's a fresh-made sandwich with homemade chips, quesadilla loaded with cheddar or jack cheeses, or scratch-made soups, you'll find everything you love at Caitlin's. Caitlin's is located on Mississippi just east of Colorado Boulevard next to Bookies. How about green chili chicken stew? Think about a variety of fresh-made sandwiches or 11 different kinds of burgers made to order with 1/2 pound of the finest USDA choice lean ground beef. You might favor a homemade New Mexican recipe with carne adobada burritos, chicken enchiladas, carnitas burritos, served with hash brown special recipe beans, cheeses with guacamole, and your choice of homemade red or green chili sauces. For those who prefer the lighter side, there are fresh made salads and lighter fares, sure to delight. Try Caitlin's for lunch or breakfast on Mississippi, just east of Colorado Boulevard next to Bookies. Call 303-798-6600. You'll love it every bite of the way.
What you see is what you get. What you don't hear is everything. Let's talk about silence. Old-fashioned silence. What does silence have to do with injuries? I'm going to give you about 3 seconds of silence. Here you go. Silence is what you get just before a collision. Sometimes in accidents, fast turns to slow and noise turns to silence. Then the collision, then the injuries, then the life-changing event, then starts the battle with the insurance company. Hi, I'm Gary Bell of the law firm of Bell & Pollock. At Bell & Pollock, we understand that those 3 seconds of silence can turn your life upside down. We know how devastating injuries can be. You may not be able to work. You have medical bills. You need treatment. Listen, don't get hurt twice. Once in the accident and again on the insurance claim. Talk to the lawyers who actually care about you, the injured victim. Bell & Pollock, Colorado's premier injury law firm. Our website is championsofthepeople.com or call us at 303-795-5900. One call, that's all. Good morning. Welcome back to the Bell & Pollock Legal Show. Gary Bell, Brad Pollock. We are injury attorneys. Our law firm is Bell & Pollock, and our website is championsofthepeople.com. That's championsofthepeople.com. We can handle your injury case at any time. We give a free initial consultation and a free legal game plan. That's trademark protected, and we do it, and we're glad to do it. Game plan so that you understand your rights and remedies. Okay, we've just touched the surface of liability with regard to big rigs, how these things happen. If you or your family, loved ones, or anybody you know have been involved in an accident with a big rig or any accident, but today we're talking about big rigs. We're talking about trucks, federal motor rules. You can contact us at any time. And you know, Brad, we've done shows on contacting the insurance adjusters. We've done shows and all that. What should people understand when they're involved in these accidents? They need to come to Bell and Pollock. We'll help you. But what do they need to understand about giving statements, recorded statements, that sort of thing?
They need to get into us, and they need to not give any statements until they do. They need to get to us immediately so we can start getting the evidence put together, so we can get the facts to get put together and stop you from making statements that, even when truthful and accurate and showing you did nothing wrong, can be turned against you and can be used against you. An example is you got to get cell phone records, but a lot of these trucks now have EOBRD downloads, and that's in essence another set of logs on the truck that are electronic. They can't be there, or they're not going to be altered as easily, and so that's something the attorney has to try and get. You got to get to an attorney and keep your mouth shut till you do.
You must have experienced attorneys. You can call us anytime. Bell and Pollock, Gary Bell, Brad Pollock, 303-795-5900 in the mountains. We have an office in Steamboat Springs. We do cases all over the state of Colorado. 970-870-8989. 870-8989. And our website. You couldn't forget this if you tried. championsofthepeople.com. That's championsofthepeople.com. Visit us. Give us an email. We'll give you a free initial consultation and a free legal game plan. We are Colorado's premier injury law firm, and we are your champions of the people.